In Paris. One of the Smithsonian system. He gives a lot of parties. I see you here. Oh wow, that's all. I haven't seen it because I know the name, but
This is a big show.
My name is Raymond Boney, and I am the host for this evening's gathering. This was actually one of the first opportunities I've had to bring together an eclectic collective of gay black men who will discuss tonight several relevant issues as they pertain to being black and gay in America.
First of all, I'm going to thank Raymond very much for allowing us into his home, putting together this wonderful meal, and giving us an opportunity to do what I think is going to be the first of a very important series of dialogue.
It was in DC that I came into myself, and I guess came out of myself even, because it wasn't until I moved to Washington at 25 years old that I had my first man-on-man encounter. My coming out process, I think personally, was probably an unprocess. I remember one day sitting in my office, and my mom called me and she said, "Raymond, you're homosexual." And I said, "Well, okay." It was a lot to kind of digest at the moment. To that point, I had not, at 25 years old, I had not ever had sex, but I certainly hadn't had sex with another man.
I'd like to maybe talk about how we affirm then our gayness within ourselves, within our community, and others younger than us. How are we affirming our gayness and blackness? I think for me that's a really important topic. We may not have, in a traditional sense, sort of raising a family, but we take care of our families though. We're very engaged with our parents, sisters, brothers, nephews, nieces, godchildren, and I think the community at large.
That you do want to have kids.
I do want to have kids, yeah.
At what age and perhaps by what means do you plan to pursue that desire to want to have
You know what? By that time, whatever happens. Well, no. I guess to rephrase it.
You want to adopt.
Oh, okay.
I think there's this misconception that black gay men don't want to have any children, don't have a desire to have any children. And that's not the case. I mean, I know myself included, friends of mine who want kids.
Probably my biggest contention about the whole DL phenomenon recently was the fact that it kind of bred this ideology of somehow not being an affirmed, gay black man. Because I don't think that most black women are unappreciative of the fact of an openly gay black man, living his life by the terms he set. I think that they would find that much more appreciative than being misled. And I think that as a result of that, there's a bit of collateral damage, that when you have men who are self-identified as heterosexual, but, engage in homosexual practices very privately or very secretively, that there's some collateral damage for openly gay black men in respects to black women.
It's like we sit there and put God into this very homophobic box as if just because straight people say God doesn't love us, that all of a sudden we say, well,
It must be true.
It must be true. And I think that's very, very dangerous because it's like, because it feeds off into how we treat ourselves.
I was a part of a Bible study, and it was taught very clearly homosexuality is wrong, it's sinful, and it's an ugly thing, so don't do it.
When I was about 14, maybe 14, 15, I started to come into myself. When I was associate minister of music at a church in Oklahoma City. And my pastor found out I was homosexual and he sat me down. And the pastor said, this is not godly. You have a position with the church, a public position with the church, and you can't be a musician and still act in this way. It was the most heartbroken thing that ever happened to me because I had such a love for music and such a love for the church.
I think also that there is a source of healing that can be community-wide for black folks found in the black church. Should it ever decide to have a real conversation you know, with black gays and their straight counterparts, there would be considerable healing and affirmation kind of brought forth.
After a few weeks, I did something that I never thought I would do. I went and told him I wasn't gay anymore. And he was like, you know, we have to get you in some classes, you know, to make sure you're not gay. I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm all right. And so he let me back in to play, but it was never the same.
People have always asked me this in terms of what it's like being black and gay. And I always tell them, well, it's hard. But one thing it's always taught me is to be a whole lot more compassionate towards people who are different from me. And that is something that I would love to be a part of my legacy.